It's funny how quickly things can change. 1 minute, you're out in the woods enjoying your favorite hobby with all your buddies. Mine happens to be dirt bike racing. And the next moment, it's all taken from you. Now look, folks, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I've had some devastating injury, but back on New Year's Day, I was out in the woods doing some training and some testing on my bike when at one moment I was faced with the navigation of a very simple obstacle. There were two trees that were not quite bar width apart, and so of course I had to slow down significantly, squeeze my bars between them and continue on. Except when I got to these two trees, on the ground was a stick laying longitudinally in the trail. It was actually really more like a pine branch, probably about the size of a baseball bat. And as I went between the two trees, I rolled across that stick awkwardly, which significantly displaced my front end, and now the two trees that I was squeezing between were now the two trees that I was hitting with my handguards. That set off a chain reaction which resulted in me basically laying down onto my handlebars, pulling the throttle to the stop, and then whiskey throttling right into the next tree and hitting it pretty hard. Ouch. Now, it wasn't so much the impact that hurt me, although it did. It was more so the way the bike fell that really got me. You see, the bike cleared the tree, but my body did not. And so as the bike continued to move forward, my lower body was pulled into a rotation while my upper body stayed behind. And as the bike kind of continued, my left foot stayed on the peg and went with the bike, and my right foot kind of dragged behind. And ultimately, as I fell off the back of the bike, all of my weight went onto my right leg while my knee was in a pretty compromised position. And it basically forced my knee to collapse to the inside, which resulted in the complete tear of my superficial MCL. Fortunately, given the anatomy of the MCL, it wasn't so bad that I needed surgery, which honestly, considering the pain I was in my knee, seems kind of like magic to me. But ultimately, here I am, 3.5 months later, out on the trails, riding again, and I'm basically healed and 100% fine. So why am I telling you this? Is it because I want your pity? No. Well, maybe a little. I speak to you at a time where most of my friends are injured in some way, and some of them can't ride right now. But all of these folks are going to heal. They're going to be just fine. And when they heal, they're going to be back riding the dirt bikes out with all of us once again, because honestly, small injuries are definitely worth it. But are we doing enough to protect ourselves? That is actually an interesting question, I think. Now look, I always, of course, wear a helmet, goggles when I ride, chest protector, proper boots, knee braces. So how did I still hurt myself if I'm taking the necessary precautions? Well, I think this is why. Now look, I'm not here to bash the Leatt Z-frame and say it's a bad brace. At the end of the day, I don't think I can really say that. I mean, who knows? Maybe the injury would have been worse if I wouldn't have been wearing them, right? I didn't have any meniscal damage. I didn't have an ACL tear. And to be honest, I wore the Leatt Z-frames for years and never had a problem. And let me tell you something, my technique is not great. I am constantly dabbing my feet and, touching the ground. So who knows, maybe they've been a great brace for me. But as I've gotten into this sport, I think I've discovered that I don't think this is quite the knee brace for me. Folks, let me introduce you to the Mobius X8 knee braces. And at first glance, this is a much better product. Now, I still don't think that penalizes the Leatt Z-frame because honestly, they're about half as expensive, and these Mobius are definitely kind of pricey. But as soon as you take these Mobius X8 knee braces out of the box and put them on, it's very clear that they are a much more premium product. They've clearly got a much more intelligent design, and while they are a bit bulkier, and I'll speak to that a little bit later, It just seems like they offer more protection and stability for the knee. But after riding with these a bit, to me, the most important thing that I've discovered about these knee braces is when you put them on, they stay on. They aren't moving around and shifting, and if you do any research on knee braces or know anything about them, you know that the proper fitment of the brace is essential to its function. Now, it's kind of funny because as soon as you start to put these knee braces on, you'll notice that all the materials are kind of high friction, right? And there's straps to deal with, there's all these foam pieces, and there's this boa mechanism, and your knee sleeve is getting all tugged around, your sock is getting all moved around, and to be completely honest, putting these things on is kind of a hassle. But there's a reason for that. I mean, once you get this brace on, number one, it is very comfortable, and all those high friction materials really do their job once you get it strapped down, because that friction contributes to the stability of the fitment, and it doesn't shift and it doesn't move once you get it on. The way you set it up in the pits when you put your boots on is exactly the way it's going to be when you're out on the trail riding. My previous pair was always kind of moving and shifting around, and I feel like every time I put it on, it fit a different way. And when you think about, you're wearing all your gear and you're kind of rushed because you're trying to race or ride or practice or whatever, taking your pants down and getting to the straps and adjusting the brace and just maybe even having to take your boot off, it's just not practical while you're out there. But the Mobius really doesn't move around. And another thing that's great too about these Mobius is the fit is not standard, right? So you do have to measure your knee and make sure you buy the right size between, small, medium, large, whatever, right? But with the braces comes these extra pieces of foam that you can change out for the brace, and those foams have different thicknesses, right? So if you put the brace on and you feel like it's kind of bulky, you can switch to a different foam and, ultimately tailor the fit to your specific needs. Right now, I'm wearing the thickest foam, which I think is probably going to be the most comfortable. There is a slight bit of lack of mobility, and so maybe I'll go down to the thinner foams. And of course, with the thicker foam, it does make the whole apparatus a little bit more bulky. But I will say, after putting them on, even with the extra bulk compared to my previous knee braces, once you get to riding, I don't know, I feel like I don't really notice it. Also, regarding the calibration of the function of the knee brace, they also come with these lockout shims, which basically allows you to tune how much the knee brace will lock out. So if you pick a thicker shim, the knee brace won't lock out quite as far. You'll still have a little bit of knee flexion to protect your knee from hyperextension. I'm kind of using the middle of the road setting right now, and it seems to be fine. But it is good to have that additional ability to protect your knee from hyperextension in the case that you have to put it down, and dab the ground while you're riding. Another feature regarding the fit of this brace is the boa mechanism, and honestly, it's pretty sick. On other braces, you would simply get a strap, and straps can slide, but on this knee brace, you get this little click wheel mechanism where the more that you turn it, the tighter it gets. And on the back of your knee, not quite in the pit of your knee, like right behind the knee, but a little above it, you get this nice, broad kind of pressure behind the knee that really secures the brace and keeps it from sliding down as you're riding your bike. This feature, along with the design of the calf strap and the foam that's included, seems to me to be the biggest reason why these braces really stay put when you're wearing them. These braces are comfortable, right? They fit well and they don't move. But what about protection from injury? Am I doing enough to protect my knee by buying and wearing these braces? Well, still, I think the answer is kind of, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, you never know what's gonna happen, right? And there are certain forces with these knee braces that this knee brace is simply not going to protect you from. I mean, if you think about it, our sport is so dynamic and variable, you just can't really protect from everything that's going to happen. However, if I have to think about what I can do to protect my knee, Without comparing these Mobius braces to any of the other premium offerings out there, I can say that for the money spent, I really do think these braces have an intelligent design and go a long way to giving me peace of mind that if something were to happen, these braces will hopefully help me figure it out. So we'll see how it goes. And if you are also looking for a new set of knee braces, it's my opinion that these Mobius X8s are definitely not a bad choice. Stay safe out there, guys, and we'll see you at the next race.